President Trump says he's ordered the deployment of 2 U.S. nuclear submarines to the appropriate regions in response to threats from former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. The two men have been taunting each other after the White House this week said Russia had 10 days to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine or face tough sanctions. Medvedev reminded Trump that Russia possessed nuclear strike capabilities. It's not clear exactly where Trump has ordered the submarines to be deployed. Without specifying whether they were nuclear-powered or nuclear-armed, Trump announced he was deploying the submarines to what he called appropriate regions. He said this was in response to the words of Medvedev, who accused the U.S. president of playing the ultimatum game with threats of sanctions. Medvedev said each new ultimatum is a threat and a step toward war, not just with Ukraine, but with the U.S. In a post on his Truth Social network, Trump said he was deploying the submarines just in case these foolish and inflammatory statements are more than just that. He added, "Words are very important and can often lead to unintended consequences. I hope this will not be one of those instances." The two have met before at a summit in Asia in 2017, after which Medvedev called Trump open and well-meaning. While Medvedev holds a role in Russia's National Security Council, he is not seen as the voice of President Vladimir Putin, who was more measured in his recent remarks, saying that disappointment comes from excessive expectations. The U.S. has more than a dozen submarines capable of carrying nuclear warheads. They are part of the nuclear triad: air, land, and sea deterrence, and represent the most undetectable arm of America's strategic nuclear force. Trump's deadline on Russia runs out at the end of next week. He has already said he doesn't expect sanctions to change Putin's behavior. There has been no official reaction yet from the Kremlin, Foreign Ministry, or Defense Ministry. However, the Moscow stock market has fallen sharply, and local media suggests Russians are surprised by Trump's post. It's likely even Medvedev himself was surprised, as many of his provocative social media posts had gone unnoticed until now. This one, however, got Trump's attention. Meanwhile, Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, is expected to arrive in Russia, possibly to meet Putin. A prominent Russian news site likened Witkoff to a rabbit pulled out of a magician's hat, with Trump as the magician. However, many doubt that Witkoff can ease the mounting tensions. Professor Paul Moorcraft, a former UK Ministry of Defense analyst, says Trump's move reflects frustration and symbolic escalation. Trump, feeling pressured over Gaza and Ukraine, appears to be acting impulsively. This move, combined with U.S. deployment of tactical nuclear weapons to Britain, marks a dangerous shift. These submarines are likely nuclear-armed and nuclear-powered. While they could fire missiles from nearly anywhere, moving them closer to Russia is seen as largely symbolic but potentially reckless. Trump's tendency to play diplomatic chicken with nuclear weapons is far more dangerous than using economic tools like tariffs. Professor Moorcraft compares the current situation to Trump's early presidency threats against North Korea, which later turned into diplomatic talks. He suggests this could be a similar move: escalate, then negotiate. Still, Putin has little incentive to agree to a ceasefire now, as Russia is currently winning on the ground and in the air. Medvedev is seen as a provocateur with limited real influence, perhaps used to stir things up and be denied later if needed. If Trump does meet Putin, a ceasefire is possible, but not guaranteed. The presence of strategic U.S. submarines, which are the backbone of nuclear retaliation capabilities, signals how serious this brinkmanship could become. These submarines exist precisely to ensure retaliation in the event of a nuclear attack. During the Cold War, leaders understood the doctrine of mutual assured destruction. Critics say Trump lacks this historical awareness and risks destabilizing that balance. Whether this move is a negotiating tactic or a dangerous miscalculation, it marks a significant escalation. While not yet as tense as the Cuban Missile Crisis, the situation is serious and escalating rapidly.